Hi everyone, this is a little video for me to announce what I am up to and what to expect of me over the next few months really. So I said I would be announcing a new exciting project in September. It's now October, so apologies, I'm running a little late. But here it is, here's the news nonetheless. So since I published my book, The Happiness Problem, last November, I've been thinking about where to go next. There's obviously been a global pandemic, and the subtitle of the book, Expecting Better in an Uncertain World, really seems much more relevant than ever. And in particular, I've been thinking a lot about the final third of the book, which really applies what I say about happiness to our social world. So very briefly, in the book, I say that we are predominantly thinking about happiness in terms of control, all the things that we can get or have to make our lives better. And obviously we can get and have stuff to improve our lives, but if we overdo this control mindset, we become blind, we miss out on the sort of deeper connections and understandings that we need in order to live well. And we can see the same on a social level and just basically replace the word happiness with the word progress. So we think that if only we got the right politicians in power, if only we had the right policies, more advanced technologies, we could kind of solve all our social ills. And to some extent that is true, but often it blinds us to the underlying causes of our social issues. We end up with very simple narratives of what is wrong with society and very kind of quick technological fixes about how to solve them that don't really get to the heart of the matter. So I've been thinking much more about this issue of social progress, what happens when we think of progress predominantly in terms of control. And in fact, I produced a video series on the progress problem alongside a video series on the happiness problem. They were called post-progress and post-happiness video series. You can find them on this YouTube channel. And I've been thinking about where to go with this, and I'd really like to I was thinking, okay, I've written a book called The Happiness Problem, maybe I'll write a book called The Progress Problem, expanding on this idea. But I don't think the world needs another book right now. I would like to continue exploring this idea, but I'd like to continue writing blog posts, I'd like to continue doing these little videos. I would like to write more stories, perhaps, both fiction and non-fiction. I'd like to explore a wide range of communicating these ideas rather than the very controlled and formalized process of writing another academic book. So what I'm planning to do is to explore a range of different mediums, a range of different ways to communicate. I'd love to take you on that journey with me. You can subscribe to this channel, you can subscribe to my website and blog, you can support me on Patreon if you want, and we'll see where it goes. Part of the journey is that uncertainty and that exploration of where this will go. There is, however, an initial direction that I'm going to take. So when it comes to progress and thinking about the kind of merits of human civilization, really, especially the modern world, the kind of past 250 years of progress that we've made, the key figure in thinking about this stuff really is Steven Pinker, the cognitive scientist in I can't remember exactly what university he's at now. He was at Harvard. I'll find out. And he's written two kind of key works. One was called The Better Angels of Our Nature, and more recently one called Enlightenment Now, where he really does look over a huge range of different kinds of evidence to show that in at least 17 different areas of life, things have got better and better, at least over the past 250 years, and will continue to do so if we adhere to the kind of enlightenment principles of science, of reason, of humanism that has got us here. And it's not an uncontroversial book. It certainly received a lot of praise. Bill Gates said it was his new favourite book, for example. It's heralded as the kind of text that you hold up to say, well, don't believe everything the news says where it's all doom and gloom. Actually, things are getting better all the time. But of course, there are some critics who say that Pinker is a bit too much in favour of the status quo, that he's not progressive enough, perhaps he's not radical enough. And rather than just kind of reading a book and providing another kind of long critique, what I want to do is go through it chapter by chapter, and really, yeah, he does take on these different topics. So it's something like, the first topic is life, the second is health, the third is, I can't actually remember the order, but there's topics like safety, democracy, wealth, terrorism, quality of life, existential threats, all sorts of things he considers. And so what I want to do is I want to, with you, go through these things, write a blog post, do a little video on each of these topics. And instead of critiquing Pinker, I want to really see, work with him to show, well, these are the amazing findings he's come across. This is what the evidence seems to be pointing towards. Of course, there are some criticisms that some of the data might be cherry-picked or weighted in various ways, and we can look at that. But really to see not the ways in which he is wrong, but what we can add to what he's saying. So my feeling towards Pinker's work is he really shows what an ethic of control can get us in terms of social progress. So that is, if we use all the means we have to improve our lives as much as possible, this is what we can do. And this is what Pinker has so wonderfully articulated. He's shown all the ways in which, certainly from the Industrial Revolution onwards, we've used this abundance of resources and opportunities to improve our lives in unimaginable ways. And that's wonderful. But, and this is in keeping with the themes from the happiness problem, but also what I'm talking about in terms of the progress problem, this control mindset misses some key stuff out. It misses it blinds us to the bigger picture. So what I want to say is there's really three kind of key ways in which this way of looking at the world and progress misses out. And we can roughly categorize them into the past, present and future. So in terms of the past, does all the progress we made, all this control-based progress we've made, does it sufficiently account for the injustices of the past? So say, for example, all the economic growth that we've achieved globally, does that sufficiently make up for the injustices of slavery, of colonialism? So there's that kind of question that I want to explore further to what Pinker says. The second is the present. So we may have, through methods of control, achieved all sorts of progress, but to what extent are they to do with relatively surface solutions to our problems rather than get at their underlying causes? So we may, for example, have become much happier in the short term, but what extent does that give us, for example, long-term sense of meaningfulness? And then there's the future. So again, we may be making all sorts of control-based progress right now and in recent history, but to what extent does that blind us to potential threats that it could cause down the line? So the most obvious one there being climate change. So I'm going to look at that for each of these chapters that Pinker has, for each of these major social issues. I would love you to join me. It's going to be at least a 17 blog post video project, probably an intro and a conclusion video as well. So we're going to be doing this for a while, Please do subscribe, and looking forward to wherever it goes.